My girlfriend was threatened, then her family locked me away, and she cheated on me. Now, her therapist is gaslighting me by saying that it's not actually cheating, and I'm forgiving her for everything that happened. Posted by you/badfriend. So a year and a month ago, my girlfriend was assaulted as she was leaving work. Thankfully, she was not unalived. However, her attacker did threaten her with a knife. Fortunately, the store she works at had cameras in the parking lot, and between them getting video of the attack and the bank across the street getting the attacker's car on camera, the police were able to catch him within a day. Between the video and DNA testing, he did not even contest, he just plead guilty in exchange for not receiving the maximum sentence. Since there were aggravating circumstances, the knife, the judge gave him a 20-year sentence. With time for good behavior, he can be out in about 10 years, give or take. Her attacker is no longer a threat. She doesn't have to fear him coming back for her at least for 10 years or so. Obviously, this was a very traumatic event in her life and, while I was not a victim per se, it was also very traumatic for me as well. I can't imagine what she has gone through and I don't compare my situation to her at all. But I have had severe bouts of depression because I couldn't protect her and knowing someone else was harming her sometimes was almost more than I could handle. Right after the incident, she did not want to see me. I get that. It hurt, but I understood. Her parents picked her up from the hospital and I did not see or hear from her for a week, which I sort of get, but I think I could have gotten a text or something just saying she was okay. Finally, a week in, her sister calls me and lets me know that she is staying with her parents and she will be calling me in a couple of days. She never called me. Instead, I once again get a text from her sister saying she would like me to come over for a few minutes so we can talk. I get up and go over and am greeted at the door by her mother, who very calmly and very coldly starts laying out to me how I am to act and what I am to say. I am further instructed to not attempt to make any physical contact with her as in a hug or anything. Okay, again I get it, major trauma. I'm sure they have been coached by therapists/counselors or something in what to say and do around her, so I play along. I walk in and she is sitting on a chair with her dad standing next to her and her sister sitting on the couch. As I walk in the room, the sister starts talking and telling me that my girlfriend wants me to know that she is okay, but obviously, she has been traumatized and appreciates my understanding in her recovery. She never said one single word to me and barely looked at me. Again, this was right after the event and I'm understanding that this is how it has to be. But honest to God, that entire conversation was just awkward as hell. I leave, go home, and attempt to focus on how I can help her. I started Googling how to deal with an assault survivor and what I can expect. She started going to therapy initially 2 times a week, then after 2 months it went down to 1 day a week. In the meantime, she finally makes contact with me and asks to meet at a coffee shop. I get there, and she is already there and waiting. At this point in time, they had her so medicated that I was dealing with a zombie for the most part. There was no emotion, and she was very methodical in her speech. Basically, she wanted to get together that day to tell me that she couldn't go out with me for a while until she got past some issues she was dealing with. Of course I told her I understood. This was almost a month after the attack, and this was our first conversation by ourselves, so I was already living under this assumption. I told her I would be there for her and that whatever she needed, whether that be space or a shoulder to cry on, or anything, I was there for her. I started to tell her that I loved her and she stopped me. She told me that right now she didn't want to hear that, and that I had to respect her wishes. I was once again a little hurt, and frankly surprised, but I said whatever she wanted. She starts texting me the next day. Little things, nothing important, but I think it is a big step in getting back to where we were. This goes on for another month and a half. I finally asked her if we could meet for dinner. She didn't reply for 2 days, and then said that she had to wait for to talk to her therapist. Finally, she agrees to this but sets the date for another month away. Now, mind you, this is almost 4 months after the attack and so far, I've had 1 physical conversation with her in person, and 1 bizarre conversation with her and her family. I am not being updated on her progress by anyone. Granted, I realize that I am not officially family nor am I entitled to anything, but it would have been nice to just get a text or call or something from someone telling me that she was doing good in therapy, or was not, or anything. We go out to eat at a small bistro that we ate at all of the time. I met her there and I was waiting for her to show up. After sitting for a half-hour waiting, I texted to see what was up. I just got a reply of on my way. She finally arrives and sits down. I ask her how she has been, and she snapped at me and told me to not ask her personal questions. We ate, and after dinner, I wanted to just sit and talk because I missed the person I had talked to almost every day for the previous 3 years. But when she was done eating, she said that she was ready to go home. I asked her if she could stay for just a few minutes to talk, but I could see that she was becoming physically anxious and I did not want to upset her, so I said that I loved her and missed her. She just walked away. She goes back to texting me the next day like nothing had been wrong. We actually start to see each other once a week for lunch, and she is getting more and more comfortable with being out, so she sits and talks a while. She has also started a new job, which she tells me about. This goes on for another 4 months. I'm happy to see her and all, but honestly, I'm very lonely and we have not even so much as held hands. Then one day she doesn't show up for lunch. I text to see if she is okay, no reply. I call her parents to see if they know where she is and to make sure she is okay. I got the runaround from them and, by this time, I am starting to get upset because I don't want to know where she was at or anything. I just wanted to know if she was okay. After actually saying that her mom says, yes, she is okay, but don't expect to hear from her for a while. Well, that makes me start to thinking she has had a relapse and is in the hospital, but what can I do? All I do is go home and try and take my mind off of it. 2 weeks pass with nothing from anybody. I'm trying my best to be reasonable here, but basically, I call her sister and ask if she is still alive or what. She knew I was getting frustrated, so she apologized but said that her sister told them to specifically not let me talk to her. At this point, I break down. I don't know what I've done wrong here. I have not pushed her, I have not tried to get her to be with me in any way other than to just talk to me, and, even then, I have had very generic conversations so as to not upset her. I then get a text from her asking if I would meet with her at an address I wasn't familiar with, but, once I looked it up, I determined this was a therapist's office. I am told be there at 4 p.m., which meant I had to leave work early to get there. I check in at the front desk and am told that the therapist wants to speak to me alone for a few minutes. She comes in and I now know where the parents were getting this from, because after formally greeting me, she then started to provide me with a list of do's and don'ts. She told me that my girlfriend wanted to speak to me and had something to tell me. I go in and she is sitting on one chair, and I am instructed to sit in the other. She has a box of tissues and has been crying. The therapist tells me that I am here because my girlfriend had something to tell me and that she wanted the safety of the therapist's office. She then proceeds to tell me that the reason she did not meet me for lunch that day is because she was with another guy, somebody from her new job, and that they had been intimate with each other. She might as well have taken a gun out and shot me, it couldn't have hurt anymore. I just drop my head and begin to cry. The therapist then pipes in with some logic about her taking back her sexuality since she was attacked, and how this wasn't cheating in the same sense of cheating. My girlfriend then proceeds to tell me that she does not want to lose me and that she is just very messed up in the head, and that it was a one-time thing, and blah, blah, blah. I feel very trapped at that moment. I felt like I was ganged up on, and the more I sat, the madder I got. I finally just said to her, "You haven't so much as held my hand in the past half a year, yet you can go sleep with some guy you met at work, while I sit like a jackass waiting for my junior high-like date." This of course caused her to go into hysterics and the therapist asked me to leave. I apologized and told her to text me if she wants to keep working this out. I get that text later that day. Now she is all chatty and telling me that this was the worst mistake of her life, and please talk to her. I tell her that I don't know if I can go on with this, but agree to meet her. I flat out tell her right up front when I see her that for me to even consider going forward with this, that she has to cut this other guy off, period. She tells me that is impossible because they work together, and I tell her that I'm sorry but I won't even consider it if she is going to see this guy every day. She decides to find another job, and after talking with my sister, who I have told everything to, she said that while it is not common, some women do attempt to sleep with someone after being attacked so that they feel like they have power again. Now, why I am not the one who she did this with, I have no idea, but I know I feel like I'm being punished for something I did not even do. She changes jobs and we go back to our lunches, and I do this twice, when I tell her that I'm getting a little tired of just meeting for lunch and doing nothing else, so she agrees to come over to watch TV with me. That has been it up until tonight. Tonight she came over and we watched 2 movies and ate pizza. During the second movie, I tried to give her a kiss. Nothing more, just a damn kiss. She backs away as though I was a cross and she was a vampire, and tells me she is not ready for that yet. Okay, not my finest moment here, I admit, but I tell her that it's been a full year and a month and I have not tried one goddamn thing with her, or forced her into anything, and yet she willingly slept with some other guy months ago, but here I am still waiting to hold hands. She of course starts crying, but this time I'm not as fast to apologize. I do apologize for the tone of my voice and tell her that I would never try and force her to do anything against her will, but, honestly, I feel like I have been kept on the outside. I've been cheated on, I don't give a damn what they call it, she willingly slept with someone else, and I feel like I have done everything to try and be a supportive boyfriend. I tell her that honestly, I don't want her to text me until I decide what I'm going to do. I don't want to be unfair to her, but by the same token, a year is a long time and we are really no closer to being back to normal than we were 6 months ago, and I have no idea how long this will go on. Now here is the part where if you didn't think I was a jerk before, you will now. I am just tired of not being intimate. Look, I certainly understood not trying anything right afterward, and even months afterward, but it's been over a year and we're not even holding hands. And, frankly, the fact that she has been with someone else since this incident is killing me inside. So I told her that I'm going to think things through and promise to talk with her next week sometime. But as it stands tonight, I think I'm done. I love her, I hate the man who ruined both of our lives. I know this isn't her fault and I hate that I feel like crap no matter what I do. If I stay, I'm going to be resentful, and even if she comes over tomorrow and sleeps with me, it will feel like it was either done out of pity or desperation. But I know ending this will be punishing her for something that isn't her fault either. Update 1. Here I am today. Everyone has told me that I'm not in the wrong, but I feel like an absolute failure, and that if I had just been more assertive early on in the process, we could have changed things. I don't think I made it clear enough how much I loved and still love her. Letting this relationship go is like saying I have to lose an arm. I haven't eaten any solid food since Sunday night. I know I have to quit drinking, Yes, I called into work again today, but right now feeling numb is better than what I feel like I have to do. Before I go over my intentions, I do want to clear up a couple of things. First, her parents. Yes, I've known her parents since 3 weeks into our relationship. They have never been anything but kind to me, and we have eaten at their house twice a month since we have been together. My family has always celebrated Christmas on Christmas Eve, so I have spent 3 of the past 4 Christmases at her house with them. I do not fault or blame them. Their child was brutalized and traumatized, so they circled the wagon around her, which, while I do not have any kids, I certainly understand that she was top priority to them. Her dad has been as hurt as anyone by this, and I have been heartbroken to see this giant of a man, he's honest to God, 6 feet 6 inches tall, broken like this. Her sister has honestly been my lifeline. She has talked with me, and has always tried to be as open as she can with me. Yes, they knew about the cheating and that is why I got the runaround. No, they did not support her decision to do this, however, they did not want to be involved other than be there for her. Second, her therapist might be incompetent, I have no way to judge that. However, I think I made it come out worse than it really was. She did not try to excuse what she did, nor did she try to justify it, like I implied. After a few seconds of awkward silence that was only interrupted by my crying, she said that some women do that. Some people have thought that it was the therapist who recommended she sleep with that guy, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. My girlfriend told her in therapy what she had done and she is the one who convinced her to tell me. They both agreed to do it there so she felt safe. I just wanted to clear those 2 things up because I did not do either of them any justice. My girlfriend was my best friend. I confided in her about everything. I have some work associates that I am friendly with, but I am hundreds of miles from where I grew up, and all of my friends are there and either are married or very career driven, so I don't have what you would call a real support network. My sister has been there for me to a point, but there is a real complication to that even. My girlfriend and my sister are best friends. In fact, that's how I met my girlfriend. So while my sister loves me and wants what's best for me, she is also very sympathetic to her friend and doesn't want me to do anything to hurt either of us. She does not support her in the cheating, but has tried to basically smooth that over. She does not know though that we have not been together intimately since the assault. Honestly, that is none of her business and I think she would be really disgusted with me if I let her think that this had anything to do with it. My girlfriend has been blowing up my phone with texts since Sunday night. She is saying everything that I have wanted her to say since about a month after the assault. I've gotten more I love yous in the past day than I have in the past year. I've only responded twice to her. So she does know I'm reading them. That is making the next part very hard to do. I came to the decision last night/early this morning that for my own mental well-being, I can't do this anymore. Believe me when I say that I know what a failure it is and how horrible it makes me feel. So here is my plan. I know it is cowardly on my part, but I have typed a letter and I am going to send it to her therapist, along with a note to the therapist explaining what to do, for my girlfriend to read in her office. That way, there is immediate support for her. I don't want her to be any more abandoned than what I'm going to be doing. When she goes for her appointment on Friday morning, I will then send emails to her parents and a text to her sister informing them of what is happening so, that way, they can be there for her when she gets out. Here is word for word the letter I have written her. I don't want to be out of line, or cruel, or trigger any type of mental trauma related to her assault. I have zero intention of inflicting any more pain than what is normal with a breakup. Dear Sarah, I know that this is not the best way of doing this but, honestly, if I had to look you in the eyes I know I could not go through with this. I have loved you since the first month we have been together, and the first 3 years of our relationship were the best 3 years of my life. You were my everything, and I know that we had both talked about marriage a lot and I know and believe with all of my heart that we were going to be married. Nothing would have made me any more happy or proud than to be called your husband. I don't know how to say this because every fiber of my being does not want to, but for my own mental health going forward I have to let you go. Believe me when I say that this decision did not come easily to me, nor can I say that it is not heartbreaking on my end. I have always and still love you, but I can't be with you anymore. You need to heal and you need to be able to 100% focus on you while you are healing, and having to worry about me and my feelings is only getting in the way of that. I will always hate the bastard who did this to you. He has ruined so many lives that life in prison seems a lot more appropriate than what he got. But I don't get to make that call. I know holding on to hate is not healthy, but he has ruined my life as well as yours. I know you are going to hate me for this, and I don't blame you at all. I know that you feel abandoned, but please understand I have done everything in my power to be there for you. I wanted to be more involved in your healing but, for whatever reason, I was somewhat excluded from being a significant part of your inner circle. This has left me feeling very lonely and alienated from you and your family. I wanted nothing but the best for you, and wanted to be there for you, and I hope I was whenever you would let me. I won't lie, you seeking comfort in the arms of another man while still, to this day, denying me any affection has weighed very heavily on me. I did then, and I do now, forgive you but forgiving does not take away the soul-crushing pain that comes along with that. I understand to a point why you might have done it. I don't agree with it and I never will, but I maybe see why. However, that has nothing to do with the fact that we are 1 year and a month past your incident, and you still treat me as though I did something wrong, or will do something wrong to you. When you withdrew the other night from my attempt at a kiss, I knew then that you were still in need of healing, and I have no idea how long that will be. But I can't put my life on hold indefinitely, which is where we are still. I know it is very selfish of me, but I need affection. I need both mental and physical intimacy. Our conversations have been both generic and bland for the past year, and believe me, I can understand why. But we used to spend hours talking about our future and what we wanted. Now at best, we talk about what movies we want to watch. What I am doing is in no way because of what happened to you. That event was horrible and life-changing for you, and I never ever had a second thought about you because of it. This is all about your recovery and how you have to heal. For whatever reasons you may not even know yourself, you have completely distanced yourself from me. I've tried with all of my heart to get back to you, but it is painfully apparent that I am no closer to you now than I was right after the incident. Also, to be very clear so you do not think this is about anything else. There is no one else. I am not seeing anyone. I don't have eyes for anyone else, nor do I think anytime soon I will. I am not now, nor have I ever cheated on you. I hope with all of my heart for you to be fully healed soon. I want you to be happy. I hope someday you can look back on our time together with fondness and find it in your heart to forgive me. I will always love you. This breaks my heart more than you will ever know. Love, Chad. Update 2. The main thing that I have learned recently is to never sign your real name to an open public letter if you don't want it to somehow get back to the people in your life. It makes it a little hard to deny it was you when every single detail is the same, and you use your own stupid name. In review, I had written the letter and then rewritten the letter with better format, and I did edit out the part that the attacker ruined her because I agreed that this was not an appropriate thing to say. In fact, I almost edited him out altogether other than saying I wish he had gotten a longer sentence. However, I did leave in the part about being her husband. I know a lot of people wanted me to take that out, but I just felt deeply that I had to say that. I can't really explain why. Of course, my intention originally was to mail it to her therapist's office with instructions for what to say, but I knew there was zero chance that she would get it in time, so I was going to take it to her and see if I could speak with her. Notice how that was all in the past tense as in what I was going to do? Well, I never got the chance. Wednesday night, late night in fact, I hear a knock on my door. Lo and behold, it is her sister and my sister together. Her sister was holding papers in her hands, and they both walk in. Obviously, something is up, so I ask what's wrong and her sister hands me a printout of my letter and the posts I had made, and she simply asks, "Is this you?" At first, I tried to deny it. I couldn't really remember everything I had written, so I was kind of trying to avoid any problems if I said something I shouldn't have. But my sister just straight up got in my face and told me to stop lying, which by then I was caught. I knew and she knew it. I just dropped my head. This then led to a very long conversation that lasted till the wee hours of the morning. At first, her sister was very much emotional because of course she loves her sister and was crying asking me how I could want to do this to her. Much to my surprise, though, my sister stood up for me here and actually kind of ripped into her sister. She said that I had gone way beyond what most people had, and that Sarah should not 1 year later still be withholding affection from me. She had no idea that we still weren't physically as close as we once were. Like I said, I never told her. Once my sister got done talking, her sister, Susan, said that in reality, she knew that she was right. She begged me to not go through with my letter. She said that I had promised to give Sarah a week, which I had. She then gave a very impassioned speech about how much she can tell I still love her, and how much she knows she still loves me. My sister also agreed that there was too much love present in my heart to just do this right away. She said, and it made sense at the time, what is another week compared to what you have been through? So, long story short, I agreed to not take the letter over. Whether it was guilt, regret, or love I can't say, but I agreed to it. This then led the single most embarrassing thing in my life happening. Susan gave me a very big hug and cried as they were leaving. It's been a very long time since I've had any type of close contact, and, let's just say it's not a lot of fun being called a disgusting pig by your sister. All I could do was say how very sorry, and how embarrassed I was. Fortunately, Susan seemed to take it in stride. She just wanted to make sure that I would talk with Sarah the next day. Even though I was a virtual zombie from lack of sleep, I went ahead and went to work. I have lots of PTO time available to me, but I didn't want to burn it all up over this, in case I needed time later. I got home from work and my intention was to go straight to bed after eating dinner and maybe watching some TV. That went to hell in a hurry. As I was eating my dinner when someone is knocking on my door again. This time it was Susan and Sarah. And this time, Sarah is holding the printout. You can tell they both had been crying, and Susan asked if they could come in. I just shook my head yes, because I was honestly a little nervous, and no matter what she has done or not done, seeing Sarah emotional always upsets me, and she physically looked horrible. I mean, as bad as she did after the assault. They sat on the couch and Sarah already had tears streaming down her face. We all kind of just sat there for what seemed like an eternity looking at each other. I wasn't going to speak first, I had no idea what to say or do, so I just sat there. Eventually, I broke and asked Sarah if she wanted some water or something to drink. She actually said yes, so I got up and went to the kitchen to get her a glass of ice water, and when I turned around she was standing right behind me. All she said to me was, "Are you really going to leave me?" I couldn't answer, I just looked into her eyes and felt broken and ashamed. We went and sat down, but this time she sat next to me. She started to read my first post to me but could not make it through it. Susan jumps in at this point and says they had spent the day talking, and they had gone over the post and most of the replies. She said that Sarah was very sorry for how she treated me. She said that they have spoken to their parents, and everybody agrees that the way I was treated was not fair. Seeing it in writing really struck a nerve with all of them because they could see how hurt I was in that, even though I could have blamed all of them, that I didn't. Sarah is shaking her head yes the entire time. Sarah then managed to talk and just laid out how she obviously did not give me enough consideration, and that she now sees that what she did was horrible to me when I had been nothing but compassionate and loving towards her. She begged me for another chance. She said that sometimes in life you need a kick up the butt to get moving, and she said me wanting to break up with her was her wake-up call. She can't and won't take me for granted, and said she had a year's worth of apologizing to do to me. Susan actually very calmly said that they had spoken at length in the afternoon about her infidelity, and then not even touching me. Sarah then replied that she had no real excuses. She knows that what she did was horrible, and that she had no right to ask me for forgiveness but was going to anyway. She also said that she is making it the top priority of her life that she talk with her therapist to get past any physical limitations she has with me. While she was talking to me, she was holding my hand. She reached out and took it. Now I realize that she read my posts and I had made a big deal out of it, but whether she did it because of that, or just did it on her own, she used to do that all the time, I won't deny that it felt really good. They ended up staying the night. Susan slept on the futon and Sarah on the couch, and I actually went to my bed. I called in early Thursday morning to work before I went to bed, as I knew that I would not be able to function on so little sleep. I get awoken around 10 a.m. by Sarah sitting next to me in the bed rubbing her hands on my arm to wake me up. She said that they were getting ready to leave because she had moved up her therapy session to 11 a.m., and she didn't want to leave without her telling me how much she loved me, and to let me know she was coming right back after the session. She leaned over and kissed me. It wasn't a long passionate kiss, in fact it was just kind of a quick kiss, but right on the lips. This was a mistake I'm sure because that broke my resolve right there. Up until that point I was still holding on to the thought that this was all just words and that it took me threatening to leave her to get her to even pay attention to me. But between my sister, and her, every wall that I was building to protect myself was crumbling, and that kiss pretty much was the wrecking ball that tore them all down. I went back to sleep, and around 1 p.m., she shows back up at my place carrying lunch. Susan was not in tow, so it was just going to be the two of us. We ended up spending the afternoon together. We ended up spending the weekend together. Yes, you can infer from that what occurred between us. I'll just say that I was probably more scared about it than she was. I was worried about triggering anything, or saying or doing anything, that would upset her. She on the other hand was very loving and emotional about it. She cried afterward for a good long while, which caused me to freak, but she said it was a combination of joy and regret. That she had forgotten how love felt and it just kind of overwhelmed her. We laid there for hours. She had a recommendation from her therapist for a couples counselor who we are going to start seeing next week. For the first time in over a year, I have been happy for 4 days. I know that this isn't the end, that we are still going to have hurdles to overcome. I honestly believe that this was a wake-up call for her. If not, then why go through all of the emotional drama and turmoil? Wouldn't she just let it go? Bottom line is I love her, I have always loved her, and all I wanted was for her to show me she loved me as well. This past weekend was a real bonding experience for me, and for her as well. I think we can build something new together. I am ultimately a very lucky man. Update 3. There was a new development that occurred last week in that she wanted me to attend her Friday therapy session with her to provide me with additional information regarding things that had happened over the past year, specifically in regards to her being with someone else. I went to the office and was expecting the absolute worst. I was expecting that she either had been with other people as well, or she had been with this guy since she agreed to quit. In fact, I stupidly said that if this were the case I was done, no questions asked. I actually got there before she did and got to sit in awkward silence in the waiting room until she came in. Brief chit-chat and pleasantries exchanged, but I was already super nervous. The therapist tells me that Sarah has something she wants me to see, and she hands me a handwritten journal that she has been keeping since the first week they started therapy. Sarah starts bawling and buries her face in her lap. There are 2 post-it notes being used as bookmarks that I am to read. The first post-it note was very early in the book, and in it, she describes our first meeting at her parents' house from her point of view. In the book she wrote Chad was very cold and distant for me, and goes on to talk about wondering if I thought she did this on purpose, and if she was ruined. It kept spiraling down until she started to have bitter feelings towards me because of it. I was instructed to act this way by her mother. She has since confronted her mother about this and confirmed my version of the story. As it turns out, this was not the advice of the therapist, she wasn't even involved yet, nor was this advice from a doctor. This was advice they were given by an assault advocate who was with Sarah in the ER. This woman literally told them to not let me near her until she wanted me there. Nobody ever asked her, and she thought I didn't want to be there. This was more of a kick in the gut than I can describe accurately. Every single damn thing that went downhill from there was because a man-hating woman, and the more I've heard about her, the more I believe that to be the case, told them to keep us apart. I have already filed a complaint with the hospital administration, and they have asked for a written statement, which I am sending to them. How different would the last year have been if this person had not interjected herself into our lives? Both of us thought neither of us initially wanted to be around the other, when in fact that was the furthest thing from the truth. Now, honestly, it does not explain everything else that happened, like her distance with me even almost a year later, but that was the catalyst for everything. We spent almost the entire hour talking about that part, then I went to read the second post-it note that was about midway through the journal. I have to be very careful with what I say here. She wrote very vividly about the day it occurred, and two things are coming from this. One, I now know, which I did not until I read the journal, that she had been placed under a 72-hour detention at the hospital. Apparently the night it occurred, she took a lot of medication. Her sister is the one who found her, and she was told by Sarah to not ever tell me about that. Second, and I'll just say it like this. I can't say assault, but I will certainly say taken advantage of. It was her second day at the new job, and she was working the second shift and a group of people was in the break room eating. She was the new girl and this is an all-male workforce, minus her and 3 other women who work in the office area of a very large maintenance shop and tow truck business. Of course, being the new person, they were all very friendly trying to get to know her better. She wrote that one guy sat right next to her and kept talking to her and asking about her, and, as the others were leaving to go back to their work, she was getting up and he grabbed her thigh and told her to hold on and not be in a rush. She wrote that once he grabbed her thigh, she froze up in fear. She had no idea what to do or what was happening, but eventually, when everyone else was gone, he started to kiss her and touch her. At this point in time, someone walked past the door, so he backed off and she was able to leave. She was able to leave that night without having to see him again. The journal was handwritten in several different colors of ink, and if she did just write this before we went there, she would have had to handwrite in excess of 100 pages. So this leads me to asking several questions, not the least of which is, why did you let me think that you had cheated on me for almost 6 months without ever telling me what actually happened? In her mind, she said that she felt like she didn't stop him and that she thought I would consider it cheating anyway, no matter how it happened. She also said that she felt very guilty about not saying no, and that is what led her to take the pills. I never got the full story at the therapist's office the first time I was there, so what I asked was, did he use protection? And when she said no, I kind of exploded. So her telling me that she didn't use protection was because they didn't actually sleep together. He got his jollies feeling up my girl, but that was it. She had even told her therapist that she had cheated on me, and never told her the extent of the story until recently. So when we went to the first meeting, the therapist was acting on the same information I was. So that happened Friday. I told her that I needed some time to process my thoughts and would get a hold of her on Saturday. I exited and she stayed behind to do some one-on-one with her therapist. At the end of the day, I think a lot of this has been very much dumb luck. But dumb luck doesn't take away the bitterness I have built up over the past year. I came to some conclusions Friday night and Saturday, and I went over them with her on Sunday. I feel like I have taken a back seat to everybody and everything for over a year now. I've placed my life on hold and honestly felt neglected. I now see some of that was due to outside interference, but I also see some of that, a hell of a lot of it, is my fault for not standing up for myself and letting this get out of my control. I want her back in my life. She wants to be in my life. I love her and she loves me. That being said, I have to put myself in a place where she can be a part of my life, not just me trying to fit into hers. I will be involved from Sunday forward in all parts of her recovery. I will be consulted on any changes, progress, or updates. She is going to be moving back in with me, but not until after I return from a vacation. I am taking 1 week all to myself. I would have been happy to go somewhere with her, but since she has changed jobs, she has no time off available to her. I have enrolled both of us in a self-defense class. She thought this was a great idea and really likes that we can do this together. Her family and I had a heart-to-heart Monday night. I got a lot of things off of my chest that I had wanted to say, and to their credit, they never got mad or defensive. I know for a fact that they were doing what they thought was best for Sarah. Yes, her sister was teasing me about my accident with her. I'm not sure who had more fun making me turn red, Sarah or Susan. But in the end they also agreed to making me part of the team. Overall, the rest of the week has been kind of business as usual. She has absolutely kept her word about trying to make things right. She is much more the Sarah I remember. We both know that we have a long way to go, but we both believe in each other.